Good evening and welcome to live coverage of round 2 of the RWB International Constructors Championship Season 7, the GT4/M2 Cup Multi-Class Series, live from the Grand Prix circuit at Silverstone this afternoon. I'm Rob Lomas and I am once again reprising my role as commentator for the Constructors Championship after a brief week off last weekend, as I was actually on vacation at the time. Currently looking at Magnus Dahlgren in the number 89 McLaren GT4 car, the 570S, or that is soon to be replaced by a brand new car for next season, the Aperta, if I remember correctly. Which was unveiled just last week at Goodwood at the Festival of Speed. We're currently looking at Chris Brook at the moment in the KTM Crossbow GT4. I remember a couple of seasons ago now when we had first half of the season in GT4, second half in GT3. Cars that the KTMs were almost unbeatable. Might have had something to do with their driver lineup, admittedly, having Radek Schuller, Crawford Brown and Nathaniel Shirley all in the same car. It may have had something to do with it, if we're being honest, but at the end of the day, still a phenomenally nimble car. Currently MO plate fastest in the Alpine A110 GT4 on a 2 minutes 10.070. Marco Badalski second, Dan Barnett third, Radek in fourth in the KTM. There's Nigel Wood just crossing the line to go fifth quickest. Then we've got Pereira in sixth, Lesson seventh. Bernard Reitzmer in eighth in the Audi alongside Kajowski and Atkinson, rounding out the top 10. Craig Gilbert Wood third, Debug, the man himself, making a return to the Constructors Championship. Doing a cracking job so far in 12th place in the big old Camaro GT4 from Chevrolet. And Sergio Lemke just behind him in 13th. A lot of talent in the field. Currently on board with G4 at the moment. Car number 33, it's a BMW. In fact, one of the M4s by the looks of things. A little bit of a weaving there to try and get some last minute tyre temperature down the Wellington Straight. Yet to set a time at the moment in the G-Square Taxi. There's quite a few drivers yet to set a time as well, including some pretty big names such as Nathaniel Shirley, Crawford Brown, Eddie Warden. In fact, excuse me, sorry, it was indeed Crawford Brown and Eddie Warden alongside Radek Schuller in the big KTM GT4. Well, masterclass, I guess you could call it. A couple of seasons ago. Dan Birch down there in 27th. There's Jack Mason 29th. Martin Schaefer as well, another quick driver, down in 30th at the moment in the Maserati Gran Turismo. The absolute mad lad for choosing to pick a car with no traction control, nor ABS for that matter. Very raw driving experience, but it's a Maserati, so it sounds good and it goes like the clappers down the straights. Currently with Eddie at the moment heading through Copse Corner at the moment, taking a good line through there. I think the side exit exhausts are actually decals as well, because Ginetta, it's not actually shown in this game, but there was an update to the G55 in real life that actually saw it move to a side exit exhaust. Whereas in game you can clearly see the two big pipes sticking out of the rear of the car. This is a slightly older iteration of the G55, it is fair to say. Eddie running in a proper old school mid to late 90s Orica Viper livery on the Ginetta. Missing about 4 cylinders from being a Viper, admittedly, but nonetheless, it's a very good handling car indeed, which is what you want at Silverstone. And Eddie Warden comes across the line to go up into... No, sorry, that's the wrong pitch straight, excuse me. There's me for a moment thinking we're using the Formula 1 pits, but no, of course, Blancpain GT Series, trying to be unique, uses the old Formula 1 pits as Crawford Brown goes up into P5 between Woodcote and Copse. Currently on board with Crawford at the moment. It goes down into second gear, down into first, pulling over as we speak so as not to get in anyone's way in case anyone's on a fast lap behind. There's Nathaniel Shirley, currently 23rd place at the moment. He'll have a wee bit of work to do in the big BMW M4 GT3. Going to be quite interesting to try and tell apart the M4s from the M2s on the timing totem. I know that much is for sure. Deal with Shirley at the moment in the pits. There's only a couple of cars on track actually. Car number 97 and car number 4. Car number 4 is Mad Al in the Ginetta, who, oh, speaking of the devil, we're actually riding with him now. Good line there through Stowe. Running over the curb there, down the Vale towards Club Corner. Be more of a traditional long 180-degree corner back in the day. Although even further back in the day, it was just a 90-degree right-hander, just one that had next to no runoff area and was properly fast. Down this straight here towards what would have been the left-hander at Abbey, now a right-hander, but slightly slower than what it would have been. Heading into the kind of arena section now. Great for photographers if you wanted to see what the acceleration capabilities of a 1,000+ horsepower LMP1 hybrid were like back in the day in the World Endurance Championship. Maybe less so for the drivers, who might have been not quite so amused at the slower corners. Down the Wellington Straight into the last couple of corners. Now you can see part of the old Grand Prix circuit on the left there. Heading into Luffield now. Seemingly never-ending right-hander. It is just understeer central. Got to get a good exit out there. Flat through Woodcote. Easy flat these days in just about anything. And Mad Al is about to come across the line and goes 18th quickest. So, good job indeed from Al. Well into the top 20. Behind. So we're hopefully going to be able to go through some of the grid shortly. I'm just going to take a quick photo of the what I can see on my phone. In case I need to start running through drivers a bit quickly. But that is the end of qualifying here at Silverstone for round 2, race 1 of the RWB International Constructors Championship. 3 races here this season. Doing a very British themed calendar. Except, of course, the first race was at Misano in Italy, but that's perfectly fine under FIA rules. You are allowed in a national championship to have one race outside of certain country. So in British GT's case, they can have the race at Spa. So one of the best known examples I can actually personally remember was the Japanese Grand Touring Championship. They had a round at Sepang already in Malaysia, outside Japan, and wanted to expand further into potentially having a race at Shanghai on the Grand Prix circuit. However, that meant that they would have actually been in breach of it being a quote-unquote national championship. so to speak. So that's why they had to change the name of the series from the Japanese Grand Touring Championship to Super GT. So a little bit of a history lesson there. DTM is a little bit of a different case altogether, as that kind of coincides with the ITC, the International Touring Car Championship, and then the modern day DTM from 2000 onwards was never actually formally certified by the Deutsche Motorsportbund, DMSB. So therefore they basically had kind of, I guess, free reign, so to speak, with where they raced and when on the calendar. So that's the history lesson over and done with, to which there's probably everyone's going to be watching this thinking, oh, thank fuck for that. Not 100% certain who's... So it's Emo Plate on pole from Marco for Alpine, ahead of Marco Badowski in the Porsche. Dan Barnett in third, ahead of Radek Schuller in fourth. That's McLaren and KTM. Crawford Brown is in fifth, ahead of Martin Schaefer in sixth in the Maserati. Then it's Nigel Wood and Ricardo Pereira round on row 4, both in Porsches. Rounding out the top 10, we've got Dan Birch in the Aston Martin and Magnus Dahlgren in the McLaren. And then we have Lesson in 11th place, ahead of Bernard Reitzmer. Row 7 is Adam Kozłowski and Toby Atkinson. Then we've got Craig Gilbert-Wood in 15th alongside G4. Debug and Mad Al are on row 9 with Damien Lowe and Sergio Lemke rounding out the top 20. Xavier Eugeni and Beg are in 21st and 22nd place respectively. Then we have Joao Carapo and Chris Brook and Nathaniel Shirley going up into 24th place. Then we have Shipston, Peter Varga, Todor Kostadinov, Williamson and Crockett rounding out the top 29 of what is a very packed grid indeed here at Silverstone, between both the GT4 and the M2 Cup cars as well. I'm sure I'll be finding out the first names of some drivers to go with the rest of the broadcast over the course of the race, over the course of the coming weeks, as I've managed to get Tuesday nights off of work. So that's going to be good news indeed. 20 seconds or so left before the run through Woodcote to the start-finish line begins. Conditions, fairly overcast, fairly dry. Speaking of which, we're currently with Max Hayes at the moment in 39th. Behind Crockett, it's Harry Hottie, Witcher, Giorgio Minga, Basham, Kevin Shepherd, 9, Woodcote, Jack Mason, Eddie Warden. And I think Max Hayes has just gone back to the pits, unfortunately, which is a crying shame, because Hayes is actually a racing driver, actually holds a race license. In real life he races Caterhams, but they're coming down the pitch straights now towards Copse Corner, and the first race is going to be go any second now. Good start for Memo Plate. They're holding the lead for Marco Badowski as they have a very short run to Copse Corner. Currently looking at it from the perspective of Dan Barnett at the moment in the McLaren. Now looking at Bernard Reitzmer down into 20th place. I'm not sure there's a little bit of contact there between a couple of the drivers. The field snake their way through Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel. Mark Lesson, excuse me, was the driver who started just outside the top 10. He's currently in 11th place at the moment in the Audi R8 LMS GT4. Huge gaggle of cars. We're currently looking at Adam Kozłowski at the moment in another one of the Audi. It's Lesson, Reitzmer, Atkinson there in the Aston Martin, then Kozłowski, then there's the McLaren behind them is Gilbert Wood. So Gilbert Wood's now showing ahead of Kozłowski on the timing screen, coming into Club Corner now. Oh, very tight indeed there. Between cars going all over the place there as Schaefer, I think, has a little bit of a moment in the Maserati, trying to get on the power as soon as he can in a car without traction control, as the GT4s all flood out of club, as we just see the tail ends of the M2 grid going through there. Currently with Radek Schuller in the KTM at the moment, just behind Martin Schaefer in the Maserati with its Bloody hell, Martin, that is a distinctive paint job indeed, if I may say so myself. They're going for a very, very nice, classy paint job indeed on the KTM. And also, congrats, Radek, on your recent graduation from university as well. And same for Peter Varga. It's in one of the M2 cars. Again, massive congrats to both of you on passing your theses. I'll actually get my grades tomorrow, so hopefully. Here's hoping. Still with Radek at the moment, coming through Copse Corner to start lap 2 here in this first 20-minute race at Silverstone. Now on board with Sergio Lemke in the Alpine. He's got G4 right behind him there in the big BMW M4. G4 going, trying to have a look up the inside at Maggots. Oh, not quite able to get it done for the second part. Loses a bit of time there. Juice not being on the best line, shall we say, to Carapo. Though Carapo not quite able to find a way past. The car going wide in the background of a big old moment there. Might be not 100% sure who, in all honesty. We'll find out in a second when they go past. Lemke's now in, shown as being in 23rd in the Alpine, currently with Martin Chafer at the moment. He's got Ricardo Pereira right with him in the Porsche Cayman GT4. Another Cayman right behind of Woods. And Magnus Dahlgren just waiting, and Max Lessen waiting in the wings just in case it goes a little bit wrong. Through Abbey once more. Of course, the Maserati was designed originally as a pure one-make car, and then just got BOP'd to meet GT4 regulations. Currently with Bunner Reitzma in the Audi. Part of this massive gaggle of cars between Audi and Aston Martin and McLaren, where there's no more than about half a second separating any of them. Well, the Aston Martin, they're having a little look up the inside. Oh, a bit of contact there with Reitzma. The Aston Martin kind of self-penalised effectively. It might have been Atkinson in the Aston. I think it was Atkinson, in fact, but Atkinson, in a way, almost self-penalised himself. He lost a lot of time and a lot of positions there, actually, but the way he had to, the car just moved to the inside as he was trying to correct it, and in turn lost a few more positions. In fact, he lost positions to Kozłowski, Gilbert Wood, Debug and Matt Out, so he lost 4 positions there. So kind of self penalised, I'd go so far as to say. Whether that gets raised to our wonderful stewards remains to be seen. But coming down the hangar straight once more, it is of course worth noting that because of the lap length here at Silverstone, the end race timer has actually been extended to 180 seconds to 3 minutes instead of 2 minutes. Currently with Max Haynes at the moment. Races Caterhams here in the UK. I've had the pleasure of watching him race actually in a mini league before, organised by GT Hub, and one of the guys on the server's actually got a pro iRacing license, but even he couldn't just rock up to the server and straight away go a second a lap faster than Martin Chafer, which is what Max did. And we were all just sitting there on in our sims on our desks as Mad Al, unfortunately, has a little bit of a mistake there with one of the Aston Martins. It might be Atkinson. Indeed, it is Atkinson. By the way, they're both falling down through the field. But Haynes is a ridiculously good driver. I mean, you could actually probably, I'd go so far as to say, if you stuck him in one of these in real life around this track, he'd be well and truly on the pace, or even in GT3 car, he'd be well on the pace of the some of the top drivers in British GT. He is a phenomenally good driver, and maybe he just wants to make it a little bit more interesting for himself. Start at the back and work his way up through the field, and then be like Drake at the end of the race, going starting from the bottom. Now we're here. You know how the song goes. Currently with Magnus Dahlgren at the moment in 8th place in the McLaren. Magnus having a good run so far. Still quite tight between the leaders. No one able to pull too big a gap, although, well, I say that the top 5 are trying their hardest. It feels almost as if Chafer, in that mildly recalcitrant looking Maserati, almost being a bit of a cork in the bottle here. Nonetheless, if he keeps up this defensive performance, you can probably expect a phone call from Gareth Southgate. Head of the World Cup is looking at Eddie Warden now in the Team Dodgy Ginetta entry. Oh, Jack Mason having a big old moment there, and that's I think one of the M2 Cup cars he's had a bit of a run-in with. Not sure who that was, unfortunately. Back with Dahlgren in the McLaren. In the slipstream of Wood at the moment. He goes one side, Wood defends, he goes the other side. Wood is on the inside. Oh, a little bit of a hip and shoulder there between them on the way in. Oh, a little bit more paint being traded. Magnus having to back out there through Luffield. We'll keep an eye on that for you as and when we get updates. There's G4 in the G Square Taxi liveries BMW M4 GT4. Of course, there is a new M4 GT4 on the market. It's been doing pretty well, actually, in America in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship Support Series, the Michelin Pilots Challenge, of which this almost feels like, actually, because GT4 is the top class, effectively the Grand Sport class, but you also have the other class, though, is made up of TCR touring cars and not the M2 Cup car. But nonetheless, it still feels fairly similar. Shoutsky having a look up the inside of Wood there. Wood holding on around the outside as to go around Vale. Bringing Birch and Lesson into the mix here. Dowski with the fastest lap of the race so far. So it's Emo Plate leading from Marco Dowski. Dan Barnett third from Crawford Brown. Ricardo Pereira fifth. Martin Chafer sixth. Magnus Dahlgren seventh. Adam Kajowski eighth. Nigel Woods ninth. And Dan Birch rounding out the top 10 ahead of Lesson, Wrightsma, Gilbert Wood, Debug, Eugenie, G4, Ian Begg, who, fair dues, mate. That's pretty early in the morning where you are in Australia. In 17th place at the moment. Then it's Eddie Warden, Sergio Lemke and Maddow rounding up the top 20. Berg having a little bit of a... going a little bit deep on the brakes into the arena section. There's Sergio Lemke in 18th place at the moment in the Alpine. Car that's more commonly used actually on the continent in one make series, especially in France, where Richard Mille Racing WEC driver Lilo Wadou started her career in that. There's Martin Chafer just getting passed by Magnus Dahlgren. Chafer managing to somehow hold on around the outside in the Maserati. Dahlgren not quite close enough as I head into Maggots. Beckett's in towards Chapel now. In fact, losing a bit of time there towards Woods and Kjałowski. All-way battle almost for 6th place. Dahlgren just about able to hold off Woods on the brakes into Stowe. And down through the Vale now. And towards Club Corner. Kjałowski was going to look up the inside there. A Club, but not quite close enough. Still 7 3/4 minutes left to go in this opening race here. Deal with Wood in the Porsche Cayman through the new Abbey complex. Oh, Dahlgren going to make him have to go around the outside here, but then again, he have the inside for the next couple of turns. Wood side by side with Dahlgren, not quite to get the job done. Dahlgren goes a little bit wide though, whether he was pushed or not, excuse me, I don't know, but either way, Nigel Wood has moved up into 7th place in the Porsche. The third of the Porsche drivers at the moment. Marco Badowski in 2nd and Ricardo Pereira in 5th. I mean, Nigel Wood at the moment trying to find a way past Martin Schaefer. Yeah, good luck with that one, mate. You're going to need it because Schaefer does know how to put in a very good defensive drive if need be. And once again, he is showing that. Down the hanger straight once more. Comes battling. There's Jack Mason at the moment on a battle there with one of the GT Hub liveried cars. Can't quite make out who that was, unfortunately. Now looking at Berno Reitzma battling with Debug in the Camaro. Debug having to go all the way around the outside. Camaro being actually probably the most expensive GT4 car ever made, built by Pratt & Miller. Build works. Corvettes that race at Le Mans. Oh, carnage everywhere. Schaefer having a big moment at Club. Very, very sideways indeed. And there's a, I think that was Wood also involved in that as well, judging by the fact there was a Aston Martin rallycross car going through the grass on the infield at Club. Yeah, that one might be getting looked at, I think, by the stewards. But currently with Adam Kjałowski at the moment. Got Magnus Dahlgren about half a second or so up the road ahead of him. There's from Dahlgren, there's actually a pretty big old gap of about coming up 6 seconds between these two and Pereira in 5th place, who himself has about 8 seconds or so. Yeah, about 8.6 seconds behind him. Crawford Brown, in fact. So whether these two are able to close the gap up, I'm not 100% sure, but either way, good solid points haul indeed for these two drivers. Heading through the Maggots Beckett's Chapel complex once more. Nominal 6 seconds. There's Dan Birch having a look at Wood. Wood, in fact, I think may have just got past Birch, actually. Wood's moved up into 10th place. Down the hanger straight once more. I think, no, not quite close enough is Dan Birch to maybe make a move on Woods to try and get the place back. There's Sergio Lemke there in the Alpine. Now looking back at Nigel Wood, there's Schaefer in his wayward Maserati. There's right behind him, he's got Lesson and Wood both trying to fight for position. Wood going up the effectively blocking Lesson in behind. Schaefer not quite close enough. There's Xavier Eugeni in the big Camaro. Got Mad Al just behind him. Just lost space to Sergio Lemke. There's Gilbert Wood in the McLaren, with Reitzmer having to really back out of it, and that sends Debug through up into 13th place. Mad Al in the Ginetta there, having a good run at the moment in 19th place. See where the leaders are. Might have time for another lap after this one, I think. About 2 minutes 6 seconds to go, so most of the field is probably going to get another lap. Kind of looking at Nigel Wood at the moment in 10th place. Lesson just in front of him. Nothing to choose between these two. There's Dan Birch in close company as well, actually, in the Aston Martin. So this is now a effectively a three-way battle for 9th place at the moment. Should be very tasty indeed. Charger saying that Schaefer's livery hurts his eyes. Yep, I can see very much where you are coming from. Yes, it is a very distinctive same with the livery on Debug's Camaro, which we're looking at now in 14th place, trying to hold off Eddie Warden, although Eddie, as I say, that just goes around the outside of him on second part of the Abbey complex. Right smirk just up ahead. There's Dan Birch we're looking at with now in 11th place. There's Nigel Wood in the Porsche. Porsche having a good race here so far this evening. 2nd, 5th and 10th. Nothing to be sneezed at all. Heading out of Woodcote and through Luffield one last time. The leaders have already actually started the final lap of the race. So we are going to get a 9th lap here at Silverstone. Heading through Copse Corner now in towards Maggots, which used to be pretty similar to how it is now, but used to go straight on a bit further and then down a couple of gears on the brakes into Beckett, and then on a similarly length straight towards Chapel now to go up into the Hanger Straight back in the day. Currently with MO plates at the moment in the Alpine. It looks like a full-on works WEC spec car, but doing a phenomenal job nonetheless. Here with Reitzmer at the moment in the Audi, with Eddie Warden right behind him, desperate to try and make up a little more ground in the Ginetta. Crawford Brown currently in 4th place for comparison, to say the least. Now with Magnus Dahlgren, he's got Kozłowski just behind him. This battle comes down towards the arena section for the final time. There's a Debug going a bit deep there on the brakes in the big Camaro. Loses a place there to G4 and a few others. There's Sergio Lemke on board. We're now Debug's already down in 16th place. Lemke maybe going to have a go for position. The race has already been won. The checkered flag is indeed out. Debug taking a very defensive line there through the first part of the final couple of corners. Through Luffield now. And heading through Woodcote. Positions should remain as they are. It should still be a win for Emo Plate in race 1 this evening here at Silverstone. Everyone pulls off to the side of the circuit. Are we going to get a view of anything in the M2? I don't know. There's Chris Brooks there in. So Chris Brook, excuse me, in the KTM. 24th, there's Max Haynes. Good result from him to get back up through the field into 21st. Very, very good job indeed. From 10th down, it's Wood, Dan Birch, Craig Gilbert Wood, Bernard Reitzmer, Eddie Warden, G4, Debug, Sergio Lemke, Xavier Eugenie Madow, Toby Atkinson, Max Haynes, Begg, Joao Carapo, Chris Brook, Damien Lowe, Jack Mason, Nathaniel Shirley, Shipston, Peter Varga, and Todor Kostadinov. Rounding out the top 30, they got Dan Williamson and Harry Hottie in 31st and 32nd respectively. Just crossing the line. Now, as the little M2s come through the field to celebrate the end of their race, currently with Celine Vitcher at the moment. Giorgio Mingo coming across the line in 33rd behind Hottie, Vitcher, Shepherd, Crockett, Woodcote. And so is Zulai Court and Basham in 38th place. Race being won by Emo Plate. So that was the end of the first of 3 races here at Silverstone. Remember, we've done 20 and 40 minute races before. We've done 2 25-minute races or a 50-minute race before. This year we're doing 3 20-minute sprint races for season 7 of the Constructors' Championship. I'll be right back in just a sec. Currently look at Giorgio Minga's BMW. Now looking at Crawford Brown. So it's Plate, Podolski, Barnett, Brown, Chafer, Woods, Pereira, Birch, Dahlgren, Lesson. That was your top 10. I'll be back in a couple of minutes or so. And just like that, we are back racing here at Silverstone for the second of three races here tonight. Been an interesting start so far. It's been a very close fought run there down at the front of the field. And currently looking at Nathaniel Shirley at the moment in the M2 Cup car. Having a pretty fun time by the looks of things. Those M2 Cup cars are pretty quick bits of kit. Don't quite have the power or the aero or really the mechanical grip of a GT4 car, but nevertheless, around somewhere like the Nürburgring Nordschleife, they look as if they'd be really, really good fun. In fact, it's Ian Brigg in 19th in the M4 GT4. Something we're going to have to keep an eye on. There's Jack Mason there in the almost Brawn GP-esque liveried KTM. Eddie Warden going around the outside of one of the another one of the M2s there. Up into 25th at the moment. And wanting to maybe try and find a way past Mason. At some point there's Rafael Pereira. Yes, I'm sorry I called you Ricardo in the first race, mate. I do apologise sincerely for it. Currently with Dan Birch now at the moment in the 8th placed Aston Martin, but it's Marco Badowski leading from MO Plate. Mo currently in second, despite having in a bit of a role reversal of the opening race, in fact, actually, between these two. It was Mo on in front of Marco. Meanwhile, back in the total anarchy that is the midfield of the GT4 class, it is Kozłowski in 12th place at the moment, with Lesson and Reitzmer and Gilbert Wood all for company. There's Sergio Lemke, another one of the Alpines, with Debug just ahead of him in that distinctive Camaro. There's Xavier Eugenia, another one of the Camaros there. Currently a little bit wide there at Stowe. I mean, the Camaro does, I think, have a bit of a natural tendency to understeer, in fact, actually. This is a little bit odd for a $250,000 plus GT4 car. Remember when GT3 cars cost about the same amount of money as that, but then again there is probably half a Corvette GTE underneath there. Certainly the steering wheels actually from the C7 are, to be fair. Currently with Peter Varga at the moment, 33rd place in the M2 Cup class. Got Shepherd just in front of him, Vitcher just behind him. Now with Craig Gilbert-Wood in the McLaren GT4. It's ending up the inside of the third to last corner, but not quite able to get the job done. Runs a little bit wide there in front. That's allowing Atkinson to stay back in front. And thought for a moment I was going to give Mad Al a chance to go through. Not quite so. Al in the Ginetta. Just as well we don't have a race at Paul Ricard, otherwise the Ginetta drivers would, Crawford, Al and Eddie would all be properly suffering around there down the Mistral Straight. They're still with Craig Gilbert-Wood at the moment, running very much a livery from my childhood, actually back in the early to mid 2000s, the old West sponsorship, by the looks of things, except obviously with the driver's name on the side instead of West, because Loire Van, for example, meant they couldn't at the French Grand Prix, for example, because of the ban on tobacco sponsorship. Also why they had to run, why Tequila Patroni SM had a few issues at Le Mans, because they couldn't market the owner's own company, being a Tequila Patroni, excuse me. And for that very same reason, Loire Van, currently with Todor Kostadinov in 30th place overall at the moment. But I think 5th in the M2 Cup class. There's a large gaggle of BMWs down towards the tail end of the field. It's fair to assume they're all in the M2 class. Now, Kozłowski having a look onto the Wellington straight there. In the Audi, he is battling with Reitzmer. These two were teammates for Nissan last season in the GTR GT3. Kozłowski deciding to hold position there. Heading through Luffield now and down towards Woodcote. Now on board with the slightly garishly liveried Maserati of Martin Schaefer. Schaefer does, I think, have a bit of a history with it, with a rather interesting liveries, I think it's fair to say. This being no exception. See, on board the car now, 5th gear. Don't think he'll be changing up into 6th, not unless he has the mother of all slipstreams, which he was getting a little bit of a slipstream there down the hanger straight, admittedly, from Pereira in the Porsche, but not quite enough to get the big Maserati up into 6th gear. There's Nathaniel Shirley moving his way through the fields now in the M2 Cup class, moving through the runoff area and having to take quite the shortcut, it must be said, through the second part of Beckett's and into Chapel, and has only gone and copped a drive-through penalty as a result. So, not going to be ideal for him. If I'm I'd actually be serving that pretty sharpish, to be quite honest. Still with Schaefer at the moment in the big Maserati. Now with Mad Al in the Ginetta. Got Craig Gilbert-Wood just in front of him in the McLaren 570S. Quite going to be close enough there on the brakes into the complex. The final few corners here. There's Max Haynes in 23rd in the Mercedes. KTM behind him and Jack Mason having a big old moment. Properly big moment. Just at the end of the Wellington straight there, sideways through the braking zone, no less. There's Peter Varga we're with now. Currently in 31st place in the GT Hub livery. Battling away with Kevin Shepherd there. Yeah. GT Hub livery, which for the previous round of the Endurance Championship, if I remember correctly, was paying tribute to our recently lost member of the server. Peter actually does a lot of the liveries on the server as well. As whoa, that was ambitious from Atkinson. In fact, that was more than ambitious. That was, frankly, stupid, quite honestly. He's gone from 13th down to 23rd and having to wait for a gap to be able to rejoin there. But yeah, that was very much a case of, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh, I've missed my braking zone. Right, time to just hope for the best. Hope I don't clean out one or two other cars, but I'm afraid to say that was very much driver error by the looks of things from Atkinson, who has dropped from kind of 11th, 12th, 13th area all the way down to 21st, and is going to have Max Haynes right up his gearbox. Well, if it's Max Haynes being Max Haynes, probably in the next couple of minutes or so, quite honestly, because he's a bit good, that lad. Here's Crawford Brown in one of the other Ginettas, a blue and white liveried car. I can't say this is one I remember Orica or Labra running back in the day at Le Mans, unlike Eddie's car, but excuse me. So that's going to be should be maybe not quite as well suited here because there are some fairly long straights. When we get towards some of the tracks at the end of the season, especially Brands Hatch and Alton Park, then I'd expect the Ginettas, the KTMs, and maybe even the Alpines to be really right at the sharp ends, because that's where you want a properly nimble, agile, live handling car. There's Shipston there leading the M2 Cup class, with Warden now battling with Sergio Lemke. Got Debug in that distinctive magenta and green Camaro just in front of them there. You can just see Mad Al and Craig Gilbert-Wood just in front of this little battle here. Eddie making good use of his Next Level Racing wheel stand. He won the charity race last year. There'll be I've seen a couple of things regarding the charity race for this year. More on that will be revealed in due course, is all I can say at the moment on that one. There's Debug battling with Lemke. Debug, oh, having a big old moment there. And just about able to stay in front of Lemke. I don't know if there's contact there or not, but fair play to Debug for being able to hang on to it. One of the advantages of having a very good wheel is that you feel more of what the car's doing. Currently watching Chafer and Pereira at the moment battling over 6th place. Coming through Chapel onto the hangar straight now is the second tighter version of Chapel, which is only actually used really for the MotoGP. It's quite a fast corner otherwise, and in fact MotoGP is the reason why we have this current layout at Silverstone, because going through the fast left-hander at Abbey and then down towards Bridge, where there's you got the bridge parapet side by side, was deemed not 100% safe by the FIM, so that's why they've had to build this new loop here. See Chafer and Pereira entering now through the first couple of corners of what is the current Grand Prix circuit. Pereira taking a nice defensive line there through the inside. Chafer going to try go around the outside. Indeed he does. Pereira maybe a little bit, oh, I don't really know what happened there. To be quite honest, I mean, not a racing driver or anything, so yeah, as you currently see, Xavier Eugeni and Max Haynes at the moment. Haynes currently in the Mercedes now, back with Rafael Pereira in the Porsche Cayman GT4. Through Woodcut once more down the old pit straight, the classic pit straight for pretty much all of us on the server. We'll ignore the fact that back in the day, the pit straight actually used to be between Abbey and Woodcut in the early 1950s. So Woodcut as turn 1, back when it was a phenomenally quick sweeper. Doesn't sound terribly great. Of course, they had to put the original chicaning off to Jody Scheckter's accident there in 1973, where he took out a large number of cars, and including the whole of the Free Car Surtees team, in fact, and put their chicane in, and then speeds were getting higher and higher, so they had to build a slightly more tighter and slower chicane at Woodcut, which then eventually became part of the little Nadgety Mickey Mouse infield loop at the back end of the Grand Prix circuit when they redeveloped the track in the early 1990s. We're still hanging on to the coattails of Chafer in the Porsche. They've got Dan Birch just behind them. Currently with Crawford Brown at the moment in the Ginetta, with Dan Barnett just in front of him in the McLaren. Also one of our own on this server is actually racing a McLaren in British GT this season. Not the GT4 version we have here, but actually the full-on GT3 spec McLaren 720S, which is a phenomenal bit of kit as well. James Kell, absolutely cracking driver, cracking bloke to chat to and interview, as well as Eugenie being quite forceful there in the Camaro on Begg, and there was a little bit of contact there as well. Whether that was netcode or not, I'm not sure, given that Eugenie's in Spain, Begg's actually in Australia, I believe. Judging by the flags next to their driver names, so that could well have been netcode. It could have been just pure contact between them. We're looking at a replay now of Eugenie heading up into the last couple of corners now. Height line there. Oh, there's a little bit of contact there at Woodcut between them. Luffield, excuse me, coming through Woodcut now. Fine. Another bit of contact there on the pitch straight. And again. Oh, and again at Cops as well, sending Begg wide. Begg keeping his foot in over the marbles, and then another bit of contact as he tries to rejoin the track. I don't know how to call that one. Certainly the first couple you might have been able to get away with as a racing incident, but yeah, from here on, I'm going to leave that one to the stewards, quite honestly, because I do not want to be the one having to try and call that, assuming there is a penalty raised, or at least a instant report raised, then yeah, I do not want to be the one calling that. As a kind of a 97 off briefly at the exit of Luffield. That's Damien Lowe. Currently with Lemke at the moment, battling away with Debug for 15th place. So, Lemke going a bit wide there at the new... Also, Maggots Beckett's Chapel, excuse me. There's Joao Carapo in the Camaro battling with Jack Mason through the same sequence that turns now. Mason on the inside, able to make use of the agility of the KTM through that part of the circuit. Whether or not whether the Camaro can get past down the Hanger Straight remains to be seen. Currently with Kevin Shepherd at the moment. I think Shirley, as Nathaniel Shirley's called it, quits over his drive-through penalty. Shepherd and Varga boom off the track there completely. Battle for 32nd overall, and for the lower reaches of the M2 Cup class, there's I think Woodcock going a little bit, or Basham having a little bit of a moment there in the background. There's Barnett pulling into the pits, unfortunately. Oh, come on, Peter. No flashing, mate. Seriously? think you're getting away with it. It was caught on camera, mate, so you're not. But meanwhile, the battle for the lead is... it's actually going to be a legit drag race out of Woodcock, but Marco Badowski is just about going to hold on by less than a tenth of a second from MO Plays. Absolutely phenomenal driving by the pair of them. Crawford Brown third, Wood fourth, Pereira fifth. Dahlgren's going to come home in sixth, which he does now. It's going to be less than seventh, Kajowski eighth, Wrightsman ninth, Warden rounding out the top 10, Gilbert Wood 11th, Al 12th. Oh, cracking job, mate. Atkinson 13th, Debug 14th, Lemke 15th, Haynes working his way up through the field very nicely there into 16th, Schaefer 17th, Mason 18th, Carapo 19th, Low 20th. And then Ian Begg in 21st. Just ahead of Xavier Eugenie. And Dan Birch, Chris Brook. Here's Tom Shipton. Shipston, excuse me. Now, leading the M2 Cup cars home. To the end of the Wellington straight into Luffield and Woodcock for the final time. There's Brockett, Williamson and Kostadinov all battling away here for third, fourth and fifth in class. It's going to be... I think they're going to hold the status quo here. So behind Shipson it's going to be Williamson, Crockett, Kostadinov, and then Vitcher in 29th overall. Hottie 30th, Minga 31st, Shepherd 32nd. There's Varga in the background there in 33rd, and then Woodcock just coming out of Woodcock, coming through Woodcock, sorry, now in fact is going to come home 34th and last of the classified finishers. Varga saying he thought he understood there. See, even doing a little bit of journalism still. So that was the end of race 2 of 3 here at Silverstone. Who now back in the old days of the V8 Supercar Championship in Australia. When I say the old days, we're talking back when Mark Scaife was in his prime in the 1990s. Used to be able to, whoever had scored the most points over the meeting won the meeting. And both Emo and Marco are currently sharing the honours at the moment. A win and a second place each. So, no pressure then, lads. Marco, if my train hadn't been quite so late, in fact, if I'd have actually got a slightly earlier train from Berlin to Dusseldorf just last week, actually, just last Friday, in fact, yeah, probably would have been not a million miles away from each other. Mo being in the Netherlands a little bit further. Although my original plan for my vacation, which is why I was unable to commentate last week, involved actually going to Amsterdam. Except I couldn't actually go to Amsterdam because all the Eurostar services had sold out, which was a bit of a problem because it meant I was actually stuck in Brussels. Hence why I had to get an 8-hour coach from Brussels to London. And then from London back to on the west of England where my parents live. Excuse me. One thing I will say, though, is that if anyone's ever in down kind of Stuttgart kind of way, just go to the Porsche Museum. It is genuinely quite eye-opening to be allowed to be within, well, basically touching distance, in fact. Pretty much touching distance of some of the most iconic cars in motorsport, like the Golf liveried 917 that the John Wyer team and Steve McQueen made famous at Le Mans and in the Steve McQueen movie Le Mans. And just being as close as that is yeah, really quite special indeed, actually. So, coming up to start the third and final race of the evening here. The game time is showing 8 o'clock in the evening. It's golden hour here at Silverstone. And we're about to go racing now. And it's a good, clean start. Plate holding on to the inside there through Copse Corner. Crawford Brown holding on to third place, but Badowski looking to try and make the move there. Try and make a move early on. There's Chafer still in fourth in the big Maserati with Wood and Pereira right there with him, both in their Porsches. Then it's Dahlgren in the McLaren, just ahead of Birch in the Aston Martin. So it's been a good start for Magnus Dahlgren there, moving up a position. Then Lesson and Krzałowski rounding out the top 10. Down through the Vale now. Schaefer having a look on the brakes, but going around the outside. And really having to threshold brake probably quite aggressively as well. Trying to feel where the tyres are on the verge of locking up, because of course the big Maserati doesn't have ABS. Of course, he's an absolute mad lad for being the only driver in a Maserati in this race. Yeah, that's one way of putting it. It's a carnage at the Vale sections. One of the Audis goes very well. There's another one going up the inside there as well. Good grief, that's probably going to be looked at by the stewards. Kozłowski there has very much a dive bomb and a half. There's Toby Atkinson. Now in the mix with about half the GT4. In fact, there's cars off left, right and centre. So quite what kind of tomfoolery happens in the arena complex, I'm not 100% sure. But either way, it's been absolute carnage on the opening lap. Oh, there's cars going off all over the place at Woodcote as well. Oh, Christ's sake, it's not a final race of the day in the British Touring Car Championship. Crikey, right, there's 16th there through to quite a long way down. There's another car going off onto the grass there as well. Oh, God, it's like watching a bunch of LMP3 drivers in an IMSA race, this. Absolutely. Not in a... Well, some of the... Well, the quick LMP3 drivers, maybe like Felipe Fraga, Kai Van Berlo, less, for example, less so, but some of the more... Yeah, very much Keystone Cops-esque opening... Oh, half a lap there. For about half... There were some big names actually all the long way down the field, including... Craig Gilbert-Wood, Sergio Lemke. D-Bug's dropped a few places back, so has Lesson. Haynes is up into 20th place. Atkinson's dropped quite a few places as well. Lowe has also dropped a few places, I think. Oh, there's Hayes there, and there's... I think that was Lesson. Oh, both of them, I think, actually may have hit that sausage curb that's on the inside there at Club Corner. So we're having a look at this from Lesson's perspective at the moment. Hard on the brakes into Club. Fine through there. Fine through there. He's got Hayes on the outside. Oh, a little bit of contact and... Oh, bloody hell. That slight nudge there sends the Audi spinning towards the inside. In doing so, actually sent him onto the sausage curb at a really, actually genuinely quite unpleasant angle. It's hit that in real life, you'd be, well, put it this way, you need a damn good chiropractor on speed dial, because that is a very nasty curb indeed. And for more in the series of sausage curbs that are absolutely evil, see also Snetterton, which where I think next round of the championship is. So yes, no doubt the drivers' vertebrae are going to be very much looking forward to that, or perhaps maybe not, if we're being honest. Xavier Eugenie battling away with the KTM of Chris Brook. For Eddie Warden, excuse me, has already gone past and cleared off already into the distance. So just Eddie Warden doing Eddie Warden things. We're with Sergio Lemke now in the slightly second-hand looking Alpine. Down on the front, up the inside of Williamson. Just to be expected, Williamson's in the M2 car. Lemke's in the quicker GT4 car, so you'd expect him to be fighting his way through the field quite quickly. Things for Zeko, and we have Todor Kostadinov now. There's Max Haynes in 21st, up into 20th. KTM and Mason, by the looks of things, just behind. There's Deerbug. So Mason's must have had a little bit of a moment somewhere, because he's dropped a good good few places down through the field. Currently with Haynes at the moment, battling with Debug. There's Schaefer in the... Why, Martin? Why? The Maserati. Only Maserati in the field. Distinctive car, distinctive sound. Very distinctive paint job, I think it's fair to say. Yeah, I think my sunglasses may be required for that. But coming down the hanger straight once more now is this little battle where there's Badowski battling away with Crawford Brown. In fact, Crawford having a little look around the outside of Stowe. Is the battle for second place. And Crawford having a look up the inside into Club and getting the move done. So that's Crawford Brown up in second for Janetta. Marco Badowski down to third in the Porsche. Jack Mason in this little battle here, heading its way around through Vale and Club. Mason has Lesson behind him. He's got a Debug just in front of him because Haynes has already passed Debug. Moves Haynes up into 19th so far. There's August Basham, another one of the GT Hub regulars, and currently 37th place overall at the moment, but doing and still relatively new to sim racing, but just still plugging away, getting the mileage in, getting the lap times, and the lap time will come soon enough for you, mate, and no doubt you'll be fighting towards the front end of the field at in the GT4 class at some stage. It's all good, mate. Eddie Warden, notably in the Janetta with the fastest lap of the race, as Badowski's having a little look at Crawford Brown. Goes to the outside. Oh, Crawford just able to hold on there by taking a slightly tighter, slightly more defensive line in the car that... Is that in the wrong shade of blue? Should it be a darker blue for a courier cost? I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. Just seen Badowski's team name, get first or die trying. Well, here we go. Haynes just getting past Carapo there at Club Corner. It's the first part, Club, where you're on the brakes coming from the Vale. Yeah. Haynes, excuse me, with Chris Brook just in front of him now. Carapo in the Camaro is actually just behind him. Brook goes a bit wide there. Haynes sends out the inside and gets the job done. Of course, Max does have a little bit of an advantage here in that he has actually raced here in real life. Well, I'm not sure whether he's raced on the Grand Prix circuit or not. Either way, that's a little bit of experience racing here in person is coming in quite handy. As Marco Badowski gets back past Crawford Brown for second place at Cops Corner. Emo Plate still leading, then Pereira fourth, Chafer fifth, Wood sixth, Dahlgren, Birch, Kajowski, Wrightsma running up the top 10, then Al, Warden, Barnett, Eugenie, Atkinson, Begg, Haynes, Brook, Cowpo and Debug rounding out the top 20, both in GT4 and overall. We sail past the halfway mark here. In the M4 class, it's still Shipston, Shirley, Varga, Williamson, Crockett, Vitcher, Kostadinov, Minger, Woodcut, Hottie, Shepherd, and Basham. Shirley, oh, bit of contact there between Shipston and Shirley, excuse me. That's going to send Shipston off. Yep, 90-degree angle towards the wall. That's going to drop him down a few places. So, Shirley, I think, might be getting a penalty for that. But either way, it's brought Varga into the mix here as well. Varga, in fact, might actually be in line for a class win here at this rate. Lead Vitcher in the 66 turn 1 Valkyrie's car, doing a cracking job so far indeed, as Basham has come into the pits. I don't know whether that's because he's got damage, having connection issues. Not 100% sure, to be honest, as we see then. The thing is, this doesn't appear to be much in the way of visible damage on the car. He was doing very well so far during the race, so I'm not 100% sure what has happened there. Remains to be seen. Shipson just having a look at Vitcher coming to the end of the Wellington straight, but knowing that also got to be quite wary of Kostadinov right behind him. Apparently with Shipston at the moment, I should add. Heading through Woodcuts now. Oh, was that a little bit of flashing I may have seen there? Oh, that's going to be something for the... might be worth picking up on the... in the steward's room. There's the João Carapo and the KTM and Jack Mason battling away. Mason's just got past Carapo. In fact, there's Chris Brook just a little bit in front of those two as well. You've got Sergio Lemke in the back as well. Meanwhile, the battle for second place rages on still between Marco Badowski and Crawford Brown. Crawford having a look up the inside there into the final couple of corners, able to hold on and get the move done. But Badowski's going to have him up the inside at Luffield, you know. Crawford having to run a bit wider than I think he would have liked as well there at the exit of Luffield and towards Woodcote, and that will have cost him a couple of car lengths. Indeed it has, as they head down the pit straight towards Copse Corner once more. Coming in Max Haynes at the moment in 17th place. The BMW of Peg just ahead of him. There's Nigel Woods in the Porsche. That Basham has indeed just been given a drive-through penalty as well, presumably for track limits. It's stop and go plus 30 for speeding in the pit lane, and it clearly says, clearly has Darren Turner's initials, the Works Aston driver, DT. So that is a drive-through penalty for Basham. Unfortunately, there's Kevin Shepherd in his M2 Cup car. Now back with the battle here between Max Haynes and Begg. Oh, a bit of a mistake there on the exit of the second part of club. That's going to cost him a couple of positions there. So, from both Haynes and Lesson. In fact, so that's going to drop Begg down to 18th place. Crawford Brown, is he going to have a look up the inside here? We had a thought about it, I think. I think Crawford had a wee think about it there, but decided to back out due to not being perhaps quite as close to what he wanted to be to Marco to make and try and pull off the move. Currently with Craig Gilbert in the McLaren at the moment, with Joao Carapo in the battle for 23rd. There's a long run down the Wellington Straight. There's Nigel Wood. Just gone past Martin Chafer's big old Maserati. I mean, even when they built the one-make racing version of the Gran Turismo, it wasn't exactly the newest car on the block. Released originally around 2007, 2008 kind of time, if I remember correctly. It was already a bit of an antiquity by the time they actually started racing the blooming things. Currently with Sergio Lemke at the moment, battling away with Chris Brook. Is Lemke going to... maybe not. There's a bit of a moment there for Lemke. On the grass on the inside. That's not going to be ideal for him. Oh, yeah, another moment there. So I'm just wondering if his wires maybe starting to go on Lemke's Alpine. Whether this is being fed back to Emo or not, I do not know. But either way, it's not really what Emo's going to want to be hearing down the pit radio, in all honesty. With Eddie Warden at the moment battling with Reitzmer. Going to get one more lap here because Emo Plate currently leading at the moment by 7.1 seconds. Is just going through Woodcote now. And is going to indeed start a final tour here at Silverstone. Warden and Reitzman are really racing each other phenomenally hard here. Warden is trying absolutely everything to get past up into 6th in the Ginetta. Down to 5th is a little bit wide. There is Reitzmer, and Warden is able to pull it off and move up into 10th place. There's a good pass there by Warden. Good lesson in how to pressurise your opponent into making a mistake. Currently looking at Reitzmer at the moment. Now looking at Mark Lesson. There's Tom Shipston in his M2 Cup car. Going to be disappointed, I think, is Tom with his result in this race, but no doubt probably quite pleased with how the first 2 races went. A couple of wins. Waiting on the race leaders to cross the start-finish line, which should be fairly soon-ish. Or maybe not, as it turns out. We've got Dan Birch here in 8th place in the Aston Martin. He's battling away with maybe Kujawski, but nonetheless, MO plates coming out of Woodcote now. So Lufford, excuse me, and out of Woodcote now, sorry, is going to take his second win of the evening ahead of Marco Badowski in 2nd place. Crawford Brown just a little bit further in arrears there in 3rd place in the Ginetta. Then it's Rafael Pereira and Nigel Wood. So all 3 Porsches in the top 5. Chafer in 6th for Maserati ahead of Magnus Dahlgren. Dan Birch in 8th ahead of Adam Kaszowski and Eddie Warden. Rounding out the top 10 with the fastest lap of the race as well. There's Dan Barnett 11th. Mad Out. Cracking job to come 12th. Wrightsmith 13th. Atkinson 14th. Eugenie 15th. And then just behind us is battle between Hayes and Lesson. Hayes 16th. Lesson 17th. Debug is going to come home in 18th ahead of Begg and Jack Mason round out top 20. Then it's Lemke, Brooke, Gilbert Wood, Carapo in the top 24. With Damien Lowe crossing the line now to finish 25th. Now we're just waiting on the tranche of M2 Cup cars. Just waiting on them now. Still waiting as Nathaniel Shirley comes out of Woodcote to cross the line and claim victory in the M2 Cup class ahead of Peter Varga and Williamson. Crockett is going to come home 4th in class 28 overall ahead of Todor Kostadinov and a presumably very disappointed Thomas Shipton. Excuse me. There's Zanine Vitcher in 28th overall. And Harry Hottie, Nigel Woodcote, Giorgio Minja and Kevin Shepherd rounding out the finishers with Basham rounding out the field there with his drive-through penalty, unfortunately. There you go, Kevin. Moment in the sun there, mate, in the M2. Oh, that was another phenomenal evening's racing in the RWB International Constructors Championship Season 7. Plenty more racing actually coming up over the coming weeks. We've got the on Thursday night we're actually having a launch party, in fact, for the new USA DLC pack, which is going to include one of my personal favourite circuits anywhere in the world in Watkins Glen in America, which is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Then on Friday night, we've got the I Can't Believe It's Not ACC on Race Room Racing Experience. And then the Balance of Power Season 2 on Saturday night. And then coming up on the 16th of July, we have round 4 of the Endurance Championship, the Zwölfstunden von Nürburgring. So Nürburgring, excuse me. The 12 hours of Nürburgring on Saturday, July the 16th. 11 a.m. UK time start by the looks of things for presumably the morning warm-up. I don't quite know my availability for that just yet, but I should be able to jump on for at some point in the second half, if not the last few hours. But that was round 2 of the RWB Constructors Championship Season 7, the GT4 M2 Cup multi-class. Next week, we will be racing at Donington Park in the Midlands, just next to East Midlands Airport, in fact. And that should be a phenomenal track to go racing around in the GT4 cars. My thanks to Nate Newcomer for his help in setting up the stream tonight, and for I think Charger, who jumped on cameras, maybe, I think. But either way, I have been Rob Lomas, and as always, it's bye for now.